Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Good Inn, a place where we like to look at the good in all movies. My name's Noah King, and today we're going to be talking about 2023's The Flash. So, let's take a look at the good in it. Alright, so, crazy movie today, right? This is a big movie that came out for a lot of different reasons. It was not loved by many, I can tell you that. Before we dive too deep in it, I'll let you know what happens. So the story follows Barry Allen, the Flash, who we've seen before in Batman vs. Superman briefly, very briefly, and Justice League, right? See that Barry's dad is in prison for being falsely accused of killing Barry's mom. And basically that happens because she forgot a can of tomatoes while going grocery shopping. She sent her husband to get a can of tomatoes, and she was killed right when the husband pulled up. There's a video of him picking up the tomatoes in the store, but you can't see his face, so it doesn't work as his alibi. And basically, he goes to prison for the death of Barry's mom, even though he didn't do it. We see then Barry kind of struggling with this, growing up without a mother, growing up without a father, kind of losing them both on the same day. And we see that he basically runs so fast that he enters a new timeline. He can now kind of control time, go back in time. Basically, he enters something called the Chrono Bowl, which, some comic fans might know what that is. And basically, like I said, he can go back in time. He can go forward in time. When doing this, he gets pushed out by this enemy called Dark Flash. He gets thrown out about 10 years earlier, before his timeline, and runs into a 10-year younger version of himself, right? So through this movie, we have Barry 1 and Barry 2, and stick with me here. Both these Barrys are in this new alternate timeline where there's new alternate characters and endings, and we'll get into all that in a second. But that's pretty much all you gotta know here. But I would like to give just a little bit of real-world exposition here, where this movie fell in the whole grand scheme of things with this DCEU, right? So, you have this DCEU, that's what it's called, and this was headed by Zack Snyder, his Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Henry Cavill as Superman, Ben Affleck as Batman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Ezra Miller as Flash, right? So we see all these, Jason Momoa as Aquaman, that's the DCEU. It came out after the MCU and was kind of always in Marvel's shadow. And they were kind of always playing catch-up, trying to rush things. It wasn't ever really received that well. Really any of the movies. Especially when compared to what Marvel was cooking at the time. Now, you flash forward multiple years. This Flash movie was announced. I don't even know what year it was announced. But it was announced a long time ago. Years before it actually even came out. And it went through production hell. I mean, it took years. There were so many reshoots. There was a lot of time crunches. And it is felt a lot in this movie for sure. But we got then to the point where DC, where Warner Bros., who owned DC, was being bought and sold, and new people were coming in and all this. Somewhere along the way, James Gunn came in to direct a second Suicide Squad movie. And it did pretty well. It was one of the better movies of this DCEU. Stuff went down at Marvel. He was let go from Marvel. DC scooped him up and basically got us to now where we are today. They handed James Gunn the keys and said, let's restart. So he's nowadays restarting with the DCU. That's David Cornsweat Superman. That is Millie Alcock Supergirl, like I just reviewed. These are new projects. This is a new universe, and the DCEU has been completely scrapped. So Batman vs. Superman, Man of Steel, this movie I'm covering today, The Flash, all this is kind of dead and gone now. But the biggest thing here is The Flash was the final movie in this universe. But we all knew that coming in. That it was already scrapped. It was already canceled. They got to a point where they said, anything you're working on, stop. Anything that's far enough along, let's finish and put out there. that's like the Flash. So this is the final movie in a dead universe, right? The universe was kind of dead before the movie even came out. So, you know, it just had a lot of odds stacked against it. And I just think that's kind of got to be remembered a little bit. This movie is also kind of notorious. It is very famous for the awful CGI. There is a lot of scenes in here where the CGI is horrendous, and it came out in 2023, right? Now, there are a lot of different stories as to why it looks that way. Some said that it really wasn't on the VFX team. It was from and this is kind of how it goes a lot of times, it's more from the higher ups. It's more for, you know, the VFX artists can only do so much when they have a short time to get it done, when they're, you know, being rushed, when they're being hounded about this, when they're having to reshoot and reanimate all these different scenes. Whether it was something like that or more like what the director, Andy Muschietti, said, that it was purposefully done, that Flash sees things differently when he's moving around, and the light and the exposure and all the, you know, it looks different when he's moving at light speed. They all said it was purposeful. Like I said, look, the movie's not a very beloved movie, right? A lot of people had a lot of problems with it, but it should be no surprise, hopefully, that I found a lot of good. So right away, I want to talk about The Flash, about both of them, Barry 1 and Barry 2, right? So Barry 1 is just going to be our normal Barry Allen, the one we've been following through these couple movies, and Barry 2 will just be his younger self. Oh, now, the first time, actually every time, Barry 1 runs into this Chrono Bowl, like I said. It's cool. It looks pretty cool. It doesn't look the best, and I think this is one of those where they were saying, like, it's supposed to look this way. I don't like it. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like they look like PS2 video game characters, man, you know, but as far as the actual scene itself and where he is and what he's doing in this Chrono Bowl, I think was a cool idea. It looked cool. I thought it was a really cool idea, just what was going on there and kind of him running through it, how he moves the time. There were some cool kind of those, like I say, you know, the practical things. Even though this is a very fantasy type movie, right? We're talking about superheroes and time travel and running at the speed of light and all this, you know, but there are still some cool practical elements, like how they say he's not like Quicksilver in the Marvel movies and the X-Men movies, where he can just pick someone up and zip them out of there, right? They say how that would shake up their insides, basically, and make them puke and all this. A couple scenes I really liked was him phasing through things. He can kind of move and shake so fast that he can phase through walls and everything like that. And he had a girl over who he had to like phase through the wall to get some beer, and then he opens the beer and it explodes everywhere because it's been shaken up. You know, like I said, just another cool little practical thing that I'm cool with, that I like seeing. There was also a cool scene of him holding Barry 2 while they both phase through this wall, and it just showed this like cool close up shot. Once again, didn't look the best, but it was cool just to see them kind of phase through here, and it kind of went down to like the molecular level and just showed them how they can go through a wall. Like I said, just cool stuff like that I like seeing. You know, there were a lot of jokes in here. They didn't all hit me. A couple of them fell flat, but I do know one that kind of made me chuckle was so Barry 2 does not have powers, and Barry 1 is trying to ensure he gets them to not throw off any weird timelines and whatnot. Well, they go through this experiment where Barry got his powers. Well, in doing this, they both get hit by this lightning, giving Barry 2 the powers he did not have and taking away the powers that Barry 1 did have. So still now, there's only one Barry with powers. They just got switched. There was a scene now where Barry 2 has his powers, but he doesn't know how to use them. Barry 1, who knows how to use his powers, now doesn't have them. Barry 2 now has powers for the first time, his super speed too. And he just shows this kind of funny moment where he's doing like a Speedy Gonzalez thing before he starts into it, and Barry 2 is just like,
Speedy Gonzalez. Yes, I've done it many times.
It's cool to see, because that is how a lot of us, especially younger in high school, would react to getting powers. Where Barry 2 is he's locked in. He's trying to figure out, dude, we got a problem here. Like, I got knocked out of my original timeline. I'm messing things up, you know. It's just cool to see him trying to rope him in, trying to be like, dude, we've got to lock in here. We've got to figure stuff out. But Barry 2, I mean, he just too concerned with powers. He's running around the town doing cool stuff, you know, like we all probably would. That was just, once again, a cool little scene to see. And there was one more thing here with Barry 2 that I liked, but I'll save that more for the end because it kind of has to do with the final fight, which I'm kind of giving its own little section here. So we'll circle back to that in a second. All right, Batman. I've got to say, Batman, whichever version, saved this movie. I remember, so I watched this movie when it first came out, and I liked it. I did. It was okay. But mainly for Batman. And then watching it the second time, I think I actually enjoyed it a little less than the first time I watched it. But Batman saved it. And that's not just because I'm a Batman fan. That's because they did get Batman right. And that's not something the DCEU did very well. That's not something we've seen done very well just through the years. So I got to give them points for that. Anytime Batman was on screen, it was awesome. I mean, there's just one scene I didn't like.
And you are welcome.
My ego's far too big to say thank you to someone else. I developed this all-powerful persona to compensate for my childhood trauma.
I too have childhood trauma.
The lasso of truth never gets old.
I'd do a lot better just giving all that money. If I really want to end crime, I should end poverty.
Yeah, I mean, that just... with him and Wonder Woman, I mean, dude, come on. I don't know. I get it's the lasso of truth, bro. You don't think Batman would know his hand is still on the lasso of truth? Like, I don't know, man. And the other thing is, it doesn't make you it's not just diarrhea of the mouth. Like, you just can't lie. I don't know. I didn't like that scene. It was just a little too goofy for me. Other than that, though, even Ben Affleck's Batman, who I have a very mixed relationship with. I've kind of grown to appreciate him a little more. Well, that's another video. You know, we can get into that in Batman vs. Superman or something. But even Ben Affleck's Batman in this, I thought was really good. I thought him as Bruce Wayne was really good. The advice and just help he's giving Barry, because these are both, you know, kind of essentially two orphans, right? Barry's dad's still alive, but he's gone. And, you know, Bruce just understands this. And you think if there was anybody who could go back in time to save his parents, wouldn't it be Bruce Wayne? You know, like... it's just cool to see the action scenes of Ben Affleck's Batman. Awesome, flying around the out of the explosion and just being drugged by behind the cars. Like, dude, it looked so good. Not the suit. I was not the fan of his suit. I did not like that. I don't know what we were thinking. Way too much going on there. I don't know if it's like a special kind of suit. You know, like Batman's got an ice suit and a fire suit. Like maybe this is his, I don't even know, motorcycle suit. I don't know, but I did not like it. It does get a couple points for me because it's the only live action blue and gray suit we've seen. And that's a big thing people like. You know, me too, me included. Like, I would love to see a good blue and gray suit. And this is the first and only time we have, so I guess it can get some points there for me. But I think way too much going on with that suit. Too many of the shapes or whatever on his armor. I wasn't the biggest fan of the CGI cape. But, you know, other than that, how he was as Batman, how he moved, how he fought, how he talked was very Batman, and I thought that was awesome. But fortunately, for people like me, fortunately for Batman fans and just superhero fans, he's not the only Batman we get. And for those who don't know, really the main Batman in this movie is none other than Michael Keaton's Batman. And dude, that was awesome. Anytime Michael Keaton is on screen, he's killing it. I do not have a single negative aspect to Michael Keaton's Batman in this movie. Just awesome. We see it's a Batman who's old now. He hasn't been Batman in a long time. He said he made Gotham too safe. I mean, the streets of Gotham are clean. Gotham's unrecognizable now. They don't need him anymore. They don't need Batman. And of course, you know, as the reluctant hero, he finally comes out of retirement to help Barry and the gang. But man, dude was awesome. He moved well. I remember hearing a behind the scenes thing, because I thought his suit looked amazing. They were like showing him this new design, and they were like, yeah, and look, now it's kind of looks like this, and you'll be able to move your neck around. And he said, nah, change that. I don't want to move my neck. He said, I need to be like I gotta be like Batman. That's just a part of Batman, dude. And I thought it was awesome. Other than just seeing him as Batman, I thought the Batcave was so cool. Seeing the OG Batmobile with Danny Elfman's score, like the Batman theme song from Tim Burton's movies, and just the Batcave itself just looked straight out of the Tim Burton movies. It looked like somewhere Michael Keaton would be. It was just so good. Same with Wayne Manor. You don't see a whole lot of it, but dude, I thought it was so good. And then any action scene of his was so good. It was done so well. There was a shot of him diving out of the Batwing, and it's in the on the moon, and he's diving down. It looks so good. There's a scene in the final fight where he gets shot down, and he's, we see the he's flying down. We see the Batwing fly past him and crash on the ground. Awesome. I mean, just so good, man. I got more notes on him that I'll hit with that final scene section here in a second, but once again, dude, anytime Batman was on screen, it was fixing the movie. It was helping a lot. And I get, a lot of people were over the whole multiverse thing by the time this movie came out. A lot of people were over the nostalgia bait. Look, this was the DC's first use of this kind of stuff, right? I mean, Marvel was actually the one who's been doing it and kind of making us sick of it, if we are there, right? And this was their first time doing it, and I think it was actually done well. I don't think they relied on the nostalgia bait. I don't think they relied on Michael Keaton coming back and all this. But, like I said, he saved them. I mean, they needed him. They needed something that big to help this movie out, and I'm okay with that. All right, so this final fight here. So going into it, before we get there, we see that this is the same day, the same time, Barry realizes, oh my gosh, like this day 10 years ago is when Zod showed up. And so that was cool to see too. Zod coming back a lot. I just like the tie-ins to both Man of Steel, and then Batman vs. Superman did the same thing too, right? They started with showing why Bruce doesn't like Superman because of this attack from Zod. So that's just cool that throughout all these movies, we're still tying back to that one villain, that one day. And I also understand that some people are like, well, so Flash is fighting a Superman villain in this, like his main villain is a villain we've already seen before. Sure, I get that. Yeah, I understand. But at the same time, the continuity there, it just brings it all together still. It makes it feel like the same universe. So I am okay with that. And I like seeing Zod show back up. But he realizes, oh, wow, Zod's coming. We needed to go find Superman. Somewhere here, a Henry Cavill Superman was launched to Earth, and he should be somewhere in Kansas. Well, they eventually find out that the government has Superman, and he's not Superman. He's actually Supergirl, right? And look, I think she was cool too. I think they did really good with her. I thought her suit looked awesome. I really liked her suit. I wish they did a little more with her, especially since she was kind of the reason Zod's there now. We find out that Zod actually intercepted and killed a young Kal-El, Superman. He killed him as an infant and is now after Supergirl for this codex. Basically the same plot from Man of Steel. It just replaced, him with her. And, I'm okay with all that. I am cool with that. I think the whole rescuing Supergirl scene was really cool. It's like underground military bunker, something like that. It showcases a lot of Michael Keaton's Batman skills and his fighting. That was really cool. Now going into this final fight here. So right off the bat, a lot of things people talk about, and me too, I get it, is it takes place out in the desert. And I mean, you know why, right? It was cheap. It was cheaper. There's not a lot you have to CGI. Maybe it was because of all the flack Man of Steel got from destroying the city, and they didn't want to do that again. Whatever it may be, there's nothing going on. I mean, you got the Kryptonians and their ships, and you got the U.S. military and their guns and ships and everything shooting, but nothing else. I mean, it is just a barren desert. It is flat. There's nothing out there. Okay, that's fine. I can get over that though. If you're showing me cool enough stuff, and I think they do. There's a lot going on here, but this final fight I think is cool. There's another point people don't like is Barry 2's suit in this. So when Barry 2 has the powers, he's just wearing Flash's suit. Barry 1 gives him the ring and lets him wear the suit. Well, then they both get powers by the end for this final fight. And so Barry 1 takes his suit back. Well, Barry 2's got to figure something out. So he makes a suit out of one of Batman's old suits. And people don't like that. That it's just like a refurbished Batman suit. No, it's not, dude. Like, that's all he had. They're in the Batcave. Like, Batman don't have just a Flash suit sitting in a box somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, I liked that. I thought it was cool that it was taped up and he cut the ears off. And I thought it was all right. I thought it was cool. I liked seeing it kind of just all jerry-rigged together. I thought it was cool. But now, as the actual fight goes, I thought it was good. I thought it was cool. Kind of showcasing Barry 2 still learning, right? He freshly has these powers. And I also thought it was cool seeing the Kryptonians from Man of Steel. I don't remember their names now, but there was a girl and a real big guy, too, that were kind of like the muscles. And we see them. We see them back fighting. That's cool to see them again. And I like that they say, like, these are Kryptonians. They're almost as fast as us. They're stronger than us. Like, we're not going to be able to kill them. Like, we can only kind of slow them down or knock them out for a little bit. That's a cool little tidbit there too. Basically, as the fight goes on, Kara ends up getting captured by Zod and dying, and Batman ends up dying too. And I liked his kind of sacrifice. He kind of just his ship goes out, his ejector seat goes out, nothing's working. He sees this like big mothership basically, and he's like, I'm going down, but I'm not going down alone. And he just kamikazes into it. That's cool. But then, mostly Barry 2, but both the Flashes realize, well, we can just go back in time and try again. And so they just keep trying over and over and over. And it takes Barry 1 realizing, dude, there's nothing we can do. This universe is kind of set in stone. Basically, this universe was meant to die. It was meant to end. Zod was meant to win, and there's nothing either one of the Flashes can do that is going to stop Kara, Supergirl, or Batman from dying. So, like I said, Barry 1 kind of realizes this because of where he came from, what he's been through. He knows you can't win them all. You know what I mean? A big thing throughout this is not every problem requires a solution. Like, sometimes there just is nothing you can do. You just have to accept it. And I did like that Barry 1 is the one who understands this, being older, being more mature, being through tragedy, and Barry 2 just doesn't understand. Barry 2 is the one saying, no, we can figure something out. Like, we're just not trying hard enough. Like, that makes sense because he hasn't been through what Flash has been through. He hasn't lost his parents. He hasn't been a hero for years, It makes sense to me. Like I said, they just keep trying, and there are cool scenes that come about that too. I love one of, if not my favorite scene in this is Michael Keaton's Batman fighting that big Kryptonian. Moves like Batman and he fights like Batman and it looks so good. And I remember people saying like, dude, no way Batman could beat that Kryptonian. Like, you're telling me just a bomb on his head killed him? Well, dude, no. One, yeah, I am telling you Batman could beat that Kryptonian. Bro, he's Batman. He's beating Superman, bro. You don't think he can beat these guys? And second, he didn't. He knocked him out. He did not kill that guy. Like, it did show him later getting up after getting, like, literally his head blown up. I mean, he still stood up and survived that. That is more than believable for me then. I definitely think Batman can slow him down. I definitely think Batman can knock him out. Also, it literally costed Batman everything, right? We saw him in that fight. He got, like, slammed from this Kryptonian by the cape, and that's eventually what killed him for the last time that we saw. And that was kind of the scene that really showed Barry 1, like, dude, this is Batman. I think kind of pieced it together too. He kind of knew that they were trying stuff. He probably knew, I don't know, just because he's Batman, but that was him saying, like, dude, there's nothing you can do. This is it. Basically, like I said, they understand there's nothing they can do. At least Barry 1 does. Barry 2 almost goes a little crazy, and he just keeps going back in time. He just keeps trying and trying and trying. And we see that basically he becomes this Dark Flash that we saw earlier that was responsible for pushing Barry 1 out. And Dark Flash says, dude, I pushed you out then to put me on this path. Like, a little confusing, sure. But so you now have Barry 1, Barry 2, and a future Barry 2, which is Dark Flash. And I'm okay with that. I liked that. Like I said, to me, it made sense. It made sense that Barry 2 would become this, like, evil Dark Flash. And why? Like I said, he hasn't been through this tragedy before. To him, he does think that there's something to do, and they can fix something. They can fix this whole situation. They can save Supergirl and Batman and all this. And that would be enough to drive him crazy, to try again and try again and try again over and over and over, and to push Barry 1 out, to make this all set in stone. But the only thing I didn't like was it was very rushed, and he was beat quick. I would say that Zod was more of a villain here than Dark Flash was. I mean, they didn't do a whole lot with him. You saw him twice in this, and basically he goes to stab and kill Barry 1. Barry 2 jumps in front of him and saves him. Well, his future self just killed his past self, so they both disappear. Right, very, very weird and confusing, but, I liked it. I liked Dark Flash. I like I said, how he came to be, who he was, how he got there made sense to me. That Barry 2 could do that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Really the last thing here you see then, too, is while, this whole final fight with Dark Flash is going on, you see this, in the Chrono Bowl, all these different worlds and universes are colliding, are coming and colliding to where they are. And this is very, some people hate it, some people like it. I like that we saw these things. Dude, you should have done something better. It had to look better. You see, this is where you get this cameo fest. It does show all these different worlds you see. Well, one of them is Adam West Batman, and one is George Reeves Batman or Superman, and you see Christopher Reeves and Supergirl, and you see all these people. And then one of probably the best one. I was so surprised seeing this. A lot of people may not know that in the 90s, Tim Burton was actually going to make a Superman movie as well, starring Nicolas Cage, and it was going to be very weird and different. And one of the stipulations was he had to have long hair, he had to fight a spider, and basically you see that there's a cameo of Nicolas Cage as a long-haired Superman fighting a spider. And look, as bad as it looked, all these cameos, dude, they were once again, I mean, they were PlayStation 2 cutscenes. They were very, very bad. And whether you say it was purposefully done because that's how Flash see, dude, I needed something a little better. I mean, dude, why didn't you just use actual clips or actual stills of these people or something? I didn't think that looked good. However, it was really cool to see. It was really cool to see these things come to life, especially the Nicolas Cage Superman. That's just a big big moment in superhero history. That's a lot of people like me know about that stuff. I've watched countless videos of Nicolas Cage as Superman, and I never once thought we'd ever see him brought to life. I never thought I'd see him on the big screen, and so that was cool to see. But there's just one more thing here, one tiny little thing. How they ended the movie was also crazy. So, like I said, with this whole can of tomatoes thing, right? Barry realizes, okay, dude, I can't fix this. My mom was supposed to die, unfortunately. So he goes back in time. He fixes his mistake. He fixes what he tried to fix. He basically takes an extra can of tomatoes out of her cart to make sure she forgets, to make sure she dies. But he actually then goes back and takes the tomatoes from the bottom shelf and puts them on the top shelf. So his mom still forgot a can. She still sent her husband, his dad, to go get this can of tomatoes. But now they're on the top shelf, so he looks up at the camera. So now he's safe. So now they have an alibi for him. So he had to have his mom die, but he was able to save his dad from prison. But we see in the very end that this still actually comes with some consequences when Bruce Wayne calls him on the phone. So now we all assume we're back to Ben Affleck. We're back to our home universe. Michael Keaton's gone. We're back to Ben Affleck. He gets a call from Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne pulls up, and it's none other than George Clooney to walk out of the car. And, that's crazy. Look, if you've seen my Batman and Robin video, you know how I kind of feel about George Clooney as Batman. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Because definitely not where I wanted to leave the universe. I did not want this to be the final movie in the DCEU and it ending that George Clooney's our Batman now, right? Like, that's crazy. But that being said, we got 3 Batman in this movie. That is pretty cool. And as far as just for a funny look, it is the last movie in the universe. There's nothing else coming after this. So why not? Why not just have some fun? Why not play with it? If it just for the sake of like gags, that was top tier. That's hilarious. That is cool, So look, that's it now. That's everything we've seen from this movie. But look, like I've said, it wasn't very good. I didn't enjoy it all that much, but almost every bad thing people are saying, I just found something good. I found why it's cool. Look, that's kind of a stupid way to end it with George Clooney, right? Like I said, dude, it's 3 Batman, and it's the last movie. Who cares? Once again, if it's just for the sake of laughs, if it's just to do it, just for the gag, that's hilarious. That was funny, and that's fine. My only problem is that I heard that if this movie would have done good, and originally it had a different ending where Michael Keaton was going to kind of be in our universe and our Batman now. Apparently, if this movie would have done better, we would have got a Batman Beyond movie, which, for those who don't know, takes place in the future, and Bruce Wayne is like an 80, 90-year-old man. And he's teaching a young Terry McGinnis, is his name, to be Batman. And he's got a new cool-looking suit. You've probably seen pictures of it. There's an old animated show from back in the day, which is awesome if you haven't seen it. I think that would have been perfect as a Michael Keaton, as an old Bruce Wayne, teaching this new young, kid to be Batman. That would have been cool, and I do think we were robbed of that. That does suck. But other than that, I can't complain. I can't dock this movie points for something they're not going to do in the future now. No, as far as just this movie goes, it was all right, dude. It was the only live action Flash movie we have. It was cool seeing different Superman and different Batman and different universes. And as far as the multiverse whole thing goes, I know it's kind of overdone nowadays, but I actually do think they did it pretty well. I do think they balanced it pretty well. I think it was fun. I think it was funny at times. I think it was really cool at times. And I don't know, man. I really don't think it was that bad. So let's see how it's scaled up on the good scale here. So for genre, how is it as a superhero movie? I did a 3. Look, it's kind of hard because, once again, what do you base this off of? Well, it kind of had all the things you need, right? But I do think it fell flat in other places. I guess I don't even fully understand why. It just 3. 3 makes the most sense for me. Originality, also a 3. So once again, a lot of these are just franchises. They've been done before. We have never seen a Flash before, but I will say kinda how it always was at the DCEU. They're a little behind. They were a little behind Marvel. They were kind of following Marvel, and this was kind of like their answer back to No Way Home with the 3 Spider-Men all appearing in it, which is cool. I like seeing it, and I think, like I said, they balanced the whole multiverse thing well too. But anything that's like an answer back, it was kind of done better a little bit. So it got a 3 there for me. Overall enjoyment, also a 3. Look, like I said, I did like this when it first came out. I think I liked it a little less now, but Batman, he saved it for me. And once again, that's not just because I'm a Batman guy. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it is just because I'm a Batman guy. Either way, Batman saved this movie for me. And, dude, I remember the first time I watched this, I watched it, and then I would watch all the Batman scenes from it on YouTube. And I've seen the Batman scenes themselves multiple times. So, I don't know. The fact that, anything that can bring me back to watch some of the scenes I just watched again, that's cool. I'm talking, I got done with the movie, went to YouTube and looked up the Flash Batman scenes. And anything that can do that is cool. But, there also were some parts I wasn't the biggest fan of or didn't get a laugh from me, so gets a 3 there. Lastly, delivery gets a 3 as well. For those who don't know, Ezra Miller, the star of this, dude is a weird guy, and he's been accused of a lot of things. He was in the midst of a lot of legal troubles during this movie. That was another reason it got pushed so far back. Dude's not a very good guy. I'm not a fan of him. I'm not sure a lot of people are, but I'm trying not to let that get in my way. But, I thought there were a couple scenes I wasn't the biggest fan of him. And I will say Ezra Miller is a good actor. He is a very good actor. But I don't know. I thought maybe it was just the goofy aspect of it. There were a couple times I thought he fell a little flat. I don't know. And like I said, there was a lot in this movie. They put a lot in here, all while being a Flash origin story too. There was a lot in here, and for the most part, they balanced it pretty well. And then I feel like at the end, it got really rushed and quick. So, got a 3 there for me. But that is going to take 2023's The Flash to a score of 3 out of 5, which that's not a bad score, dude. It's really not. It's higher than I thought it would be. It really is. I definitely thought it'd be a little lower than that. Oh, what can I say? If there's any good in there, I'm gonna find it, man. And there was. I do think it sometimes takes a little bit. Sometimes you gotta search pretty hard, but hey, we're gonna find it nonetheless. But I think that's everything I got there on The Flash. So let me know what you thought of it. Like I said, it's a very divisive movie. There are some people who love it. There are some people who think it was really, really good. It was done well. It was a cool Flash story. I'm very interested, if you're a Flash fan, what you thought. Let me know, because I don't know. I'm more of a Batman fan than anything, so that's probably why I got that score. But, that's all I got. Once again, let me know what you thought. That's going to be another Throwback Thursday for you. So, I'm thinking Monday. Let me know what you guys think of this, because I know it's a little older. It's a little late. Like I say, for New Movie Monday, I'd like to do things that are newly released, still in theaters. I was thinking of doing Obsession, just because it's a good movie. I just want to see it, just in general. And if I'm going to go see it, might as well make a video about it. So, I know it was liked by a lot of people, so let me know what you think of that. But, until then, I'll see you Monday for New Movie Monday. And as always, Christ is King. God bless. Have a good one.